Hello, everyone. It's been a while. This is episode 4 of Uran Rants. And this one is a little different. It's not exactly a rant, it's more of a introspective, if you want to call it, a retrospective. I don't even know the correct word I'm thinking about, but it's more about my ARMS competitive journey, at least how I got into competitive ARMS and how I went about competitive arms and all that fun stuff. And I know the title is something that's a little clickbaity, like why I quit competitive arms, but in all honesty, it's not fully clickbait, as I will actually get into that. But to get to that point, I actually don't need to talk about how I got into gaming, what led to me being competitive in gaming, and all of that other stuff. So I was 5. It was 1999, it was Christmas, and my cousin decided to give my family, my nuclear family, his N64. And he gave us 2 games that came with it. It was a Jungle Green on Donkey Kong 64 bundle. So he gave us his copy of Donkey Kong 64, which he had at like 99%. And then he also gave us a brand new game that I don't think he had played, which was called Super Smash Bros. For the N64. And I played that game with my siblings. And I was 5. I was bad. I saw one button and one button only. And it wasn't the A button, it was the B button. Not only that, I saw, oh look, there's a fox. Not only is it a fox, but this fox has a gun. So I'm going to choose the fox because it has a gun. So all I did was shoot the laser. So I was really bad. I was really bad at the start. And then as time went on, a little hierarchy was developed. My oldest sibling did not play, but my other 2 siblings did. So the sibling that was older than me, well, all of my siblings are older than me, the one who was right before me, she was the best. The one that was older than her was the second best, and I was always like the next one. We had some cousins and so that I ended up being better than, but for the most part, I was just really bad at the game at the start. I only pressed the B button, and then eventually I figured out, oh, Falcon's B button is good, so I switched to him. Eventually, I learned to play the game with Samus, and it was very competitive in the house. Of course, it was mostly casuals. My oldest of the sisters, the older one, decided that she liked more of a competitive rule set in the sense of there would be no items, but we liked items more in 64, so we did that. And that was one of my ventures into actual gaming. I started with Pokemon and such before that, but that was the really big one that got me kind of in a more competitive, competing against other people kind of mindset. And that continued because we then eventually did do 1v1s with each other at some point. And it took forever, but I did finally beat my sister, the one that was the best at the game. And I won in the funniest way ever. If you've ever played Smash 64, you know Sector Z, Sector Z, whatever you want to call it. You know that the R-Wing passes, the ear-wing, whatever you want to call it, that shit, I think it's R-Wing. It passes through and it shoots, right? We were on the bottom platform next to the little exhaust from the jet, and I was at a really high percent too. And she was also at a really high percent. And I was kind of getting mollywopped down there. And then the R-Wing just swoops in, and it ends up shooting her. So she goes flying, and all of this game's winner is Samus, and I'm just like, oh look, I won. Would you look at that? That was like one of my only wins in 64 because my sister used to literally win every single game. When I say the hierarchy was real, I mean the hierarchy was real. Even if we ganged up on her, we'd still lose. It was not good. She was just way better. And I honestly, given Jacket Shacket, if my sister actually legit played, I feel like she'd be really good. And I'll even get further into that because this continued. Eventually I learned how to play Kirby. Kirby was my main for a little bit in 64. Then we went to Melee, and we got more competitive. We got more competitive with Mario Kart. We got more competitive with a bunch of other stuff, but we wouldn't really be introduced to what I would consider actual competitive gaming until we were introduced to Super Smash Bros. Brawl. My sister had a friend. I believe he was either the son or grandson of the Governor General on the island. I'm from the beautiful island of St. Kitts. You should visit sometime. Please don't bring your COVID into my island. Please. Now, other than that, Um, Beautiful place. You should really visit. But yeah, he introduced no items, Final Destination, and all that shit to us, which was one of the rule sets that people used to play. And we played him, and my sister did beat him. She played Link. I believe he was playing Fox. And then I played Yoshi at that point in time. I'm a Yoshi main still. I started being a Yoshi main in Melee. And I played him and I barely lost. And I had a lot of fun. It was a very different experience and I really got into it. I didn't really play like this often. He was literally the only person. I believe he stopped at like twice. And I did beat him the second time. And that was without real practice in between. So yeah. Eventually, that led to me, everybody had to go their separate ways a bit. We are all older. My sisters have a very big age gap with me. So they went off to college, and then eventually I went off to college, and then I ended up getting introduced by one of my friends. I'm trying to remember his tag. It's Solo something, I believe. I'm trying to use tags and not real names so that no one can link anything, because I don't really like my stuff out there, even though I feel like it's a little too easy to figure me out. Anyway, Solo Sky, I believe that was his tag. And that's his current tag. I think he does do some streaming on Twitch. But anyway, he brought me to the game room, which I didn't know existed because I didn't go to orientation. I know, I didn't get to my college's orientation. I went to 0 of my college's orientation, by the way. None. I didn't go to any of them. When I was home for my community college, I was actually out here in America on vacation when all that happened. I literally came back late to college. I started college a few days late. So, and with the other one, I just didn't go to orientation. So, yeah. Anyway, so I was introduced to a bunch of friends. These are my good friends to this day. My buddy Vish, Merlin, George, Nurse Joy, Neo Vanquisher, all of the good friends. And we played a lot. We played a lot of Smash, and eventually I leveled up because I was playing with people who actually played with slightly higher level people, but I was still one of the better players at that point. Until we met up against Ace Sheen, who actually played, and he actually was just way better than everybody else. Nurse Joy was also getting really good. Neo Vanquisher was getting good, and there was one other person in there who was phenomenal. Another good friend of mine. I'm trying to remember tags because the name is coming to me, but the tag is not. Venom Boss, yeah. Venom Boss. And we played a lot, and he was pretty much I was trying to reach him. He was better than everybody else except Sheen for a bit, and then eventually there was the Smash 4 came out, and Yoshi was better. I forgot there was also the tooling play. There was so many good players in terms of the level we were at. Not overall, they were decent players as far as I'm concerned. I think they were really good. And then we all just kind of leveled up together. And certain people stayed at the casual level, and other people made it to a point where I would say they were legitimately mid-level, competitive level, or bordering high level, depending on how you look at it. And I was not there. I was getting my ass beat. But I was literally improving and playing them, and it just made me feel more competitive, more into it. That drive that was already there just got pushed, but there was a problem with the whole Smash 4 thing. My family, specifically, my sister was really good at video games. She owned the Wii U, and she owned Smash eventually, but it was not mine. And at that point in time, I'd have to ask her to play video games, and everybody was saying, oh, Uran plays too much video games, and blah, 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 blah. So it was harder for me to actually get access, so I was pretty much stuck on my 3DS. So I couldn't really do much, and I did not buy Smash 3DS. I bought it for my other sister, the other one who was second in the hierarchy, the older one out of the two. I have 3 older sisters, so the middle sister, the older one out of the 2 who actually gamed, and yeah, so I didn't really get a chance to really practice on my own. My only practice was at the game room, and I got really good for it. I did eventually beat everyone, but it was not easy, and I have a very much an L record against the majority of those top people who were actually really, really good at it. I'm not going to front, I'm not going to pretend that was 100% a thing. I had a very much negative record versus them. But I got really good to the point where I started to go even with them at some point. Except for one, Nursery just started to improve dramatically when he switched from Sheik to Ness. And I don't know what was up, but he just went crazy. But Prison Boss, I took forever to beat him. When I did eventually beat him, it was one of my most crowning achievements in Smash. But, like I said, we had a problem. I couldn't really practice Smash 4 like that. So, eventually Nintendo released the Switch. And with the Switch's release, they advertised a game called ARMS. And I was like, oh, I need something to hold me out till Smash gets either ported or there's a new Smash on the Switch. And I own the Switch now. This was my first console, second console I used my own money to buy. So I had my Switch and I decided I was gonna try ARMS. They had a little demo and I tried it and I liked it. So I decided, with the goodness of my heart and the best abilities, to go out of my way to make ARMS a thing. I tried very much, and that is why I chose ARMS. It was more of a stopgap waiting for Ultimate, in all honesty. And I started the game and I started going on rank, and I was doing, to my knowledge, it felt like I was doing well. I ranked up to like rank 6 really quickly, and it was like a total of 15 ranks, and I was slowly climbing the ranks. And then I believe there was a thread that was made on VG charts when I frequented it. And that thread was, what rank are you? And I found that I was literally like kind of like averaging, like I was above a lot of people, but I was also below. And when I was below, like other people were like rank 9 and going towards 10. And this was like started the game. I'm like, oh wow, these people are ranking up fast. And I was starting to actually lose games now as I went up the ranks. It was like I was kind of middling. And then I discovered the ARMS community, and I entered ARMS tournaments, and I went 0-2 in my very first tournament. It was not fun. It was not pretty. I felt like I could have been doing way better, but I shouldn't say it wasn't fun. It just wasn't pretty. I actually did have a lot of fun with it. And this is when I was introduced to scripts, and it was this tournament that I got introduced to. And I decided to keep playing ARMS, but there were two problems with this. The first problem I had while playing ARMS, I was bad. I actually was pretty bad at the game. I was really, really bad. Number two, and this is the bigger problem of the two, me being bad is not that big of an issue. Everyone is kind of bad at the start of the game. The second issue was, I lived in a household, multiple other people, with multiple devices, all connected over Wi-Fi, while not having an Ethernet cable, and our internet was not the greatest on top of that. So I had net trouble. So I unfortunately could not play in as many tournaments as I would like, since lag was a thing. There was people I would not lag with, and there was people I would lag with. A lot of it can come down to, at the later time when my internet did get better, ARMS netcode, but I definitely did end up having some unfortunateness there. Luckily for me, the family decided to upgrade the internet around that time, so I was back in business. New internet, that means I can play online. That means I can enter tournaments, and that means I can get better. So I started to enter tournaments, and I started to go from being an O tour to like a 1 tour. I played friendlies with a bunch of people, and I have to say, I have to give shout outs here, because there were people that literally just helped me improve my play quite a bit. In terms of footsies and just becoming better in movement, and I will say movement is like one of the number one, if not the number one thing when it comes to ARMS, you gotta give a shout out to S3. S3 is a European, I believe he has Jamaican descent. I've seen pictures of him. I've seen him, I think he dreads at one point. Or just, maybe not dreads, just locks. I'm trying to remember, but dude was cool. Played Twintel. Was one of the best Twintels I've seen. Was one of the best players in the world, in all honesty. And I played against him, and he helped me, like literally we played friendlies. And even though our connection, this is the weirdest thing, our connection when my internet was bad was really good. When my internet improved, my connection with him was still kind of good, but it started to have a lot more interference, in the sense of he's in Europe, regional lag was a thing, so it was harder, but it still ended up working out in the sense of my movement improved a lot just by playing him. The second person that I want to shout out on my road for improvement is Hess. Hess, at this point in time, was a Master Mummy main. Eventually, Hess did switch over to Twintel. I know Hess does like some performance stuff and such IRL now. I think he's like a dancer and such. I think he might also do like Broadway. I'm not 100% sure. But Hess, shout out to Hess. Hess was one of, if not legitimately one of the best players of the game. And Hess pretty much called out what I would consider a very big fatal flaw. Why don't you grab Uran? And he was like, I'm Master Mummy. I'm going to sit and shield. The reason you lose to Master Mummy so hard is that you are afraid to grab. And I'm like, yeah, because grabbing is bad. And I'm not wrong. Grabbing is bad. Grabbing is very committal. When you throw out a grab, you are opening up yourself to just eating damage if you miss. Even as fast as Ninjara is, I was a Ninjara main. I wanted to be Ninjara and, what's his face? Helix. But I have this thing about me when I start playing a character, and I feel like I have to improve with them before I can pick up a secondary, so I just kept improving Ninjara and I never touched the Goo Boy, so Helix was never a secondary. I never had a secondary because of that. But yeah, I never really grabbed, so he essentially was like, be more raw with it. Don't think too hard. Don't be worrying about the consequences of it too much. Put people into positions is essentially, what's that word? People use it all the time. It's conditioning, yes. Condition your opponent and then grab them. They'll never expect grabs from you, but don't make it obvious. And another thing is because you're nervous about grabs, you make it obvious when you actually are forced to attempt grabs. So, yeah. That was one of the things, and then I played with Hess a lot, and we ended up improving so much just from playing Hess. And the last person I absolutely have to give a shout out to was considered at one point in time the best Ninjara in North America. We had a very quick trading off. At the start of the game, Avalon was the best Ninjara, and then Avalon quit, and the second best Ninjara then became the best Ninjara. The second best Ninjara at that time, and the one that I'm shouting out, was called Reese the Ninja. And Reese, I don't know how Reese took the time to get good at this game, because Reese, if I recall, I don't think Reese is a lawyer, but Reese is a grown working man. I think he was slightly older than me, and I was already an adult when ARMS came out and all that stuff. So, Reese is a grown man with kids and a wife. So I don't even know how he has the time to get as good as he got in this game. And here's the thing, I want to point out people that, what do you mean it's good? Isn't ARMS easy? No. We had a thing where there was a point that was established very, I wouldn't say early on in the game, but very much. If you had less than 100 hours in ARMS, you are not beating someone with over 100 hours. You would have to be one of the most talented players on the planet to pull something off. Want someone who had been in competitive ARMS and they passed a 100-hour mark. I don't know what it was, but everybody leveled up to a point where you understood the game on such a good level that passing that 100-hour mark normally meant that anyone, like, I could look at your profile and be like, oh, you have 30 hours in ARMS? I'm not losing to you. You have 50 hours in ARMS? I'm not losing to you. It was a thing that happened. So once you cross that mark, I don't know, so him having to actually find the time while juggling all of that to get everything on that level, that was impressive to me. And he helped me improve my footsies, my fundamentals even more, because Ninjara has a very good jump. Ninjara's his movement options are just overall good. His dash is good, his walk is good, short dashes are good, long dashes are good, his jump has invincibility frames when he jump dashes. He is just really good, and it forces, and a lot of the times is because his jump is so good, and like you dash, you jump, you dash again, and you get so much movement off of that. Because that is so good, we rely on it, but the problem is, we rely on it to a point where it becomes predictable. All Ninjaras are gonna jump, teleport, dash, and then grab. Grab Jara was a thing. I wasn't a grab Jara. I hated grabbing, as I described earlier, but Reese wasn't a grab Jara either. But that was a thing that people were like, oh my god, the Ninjaras, all they do is grab, teleport, and grab it. It's so annoying and hard. And that was like the week 1 meta. The month 1 meta, if you even want to call it that, before all them people were like, oh, if I punch more instead of just trying to grab people, I will win the game, because everyone thought grabs were overpowered at the start of the game. They were not. Everyone was just bad. No one knew how to move. But now we got to a point where the game started to get good. People started to get very good at the game. And me and Reese did something. Reese introduced me to something that I honestly think was stupid but brilliant. He told me what he was doing to train to improve his gameplay. And what he was doing was, he went into the arms menu and he actually went out of his way and disabled his jump button. Yeah, he disabled his jump button. We went online, the two of us, we played ranked, we played party lobbies without the ability to jump. And what this did was improve our ground game and force us to also use Ninjara's worst tool, his shield. Because Ninjara's shield sucked. Everyone saw Ninjara's shield. Oh my god, Ninjara's shield is going to be so good, because when you hold up your shield, when an arm touches your shield, it teleports you. Instead of actually taking shield damage, you don't take any shield chip damage. You teleport away. But here's the problem. Imagine a Min fully charges that dragon arm, throws a ram at you, and you block it with your shield. Your shield teleports you into that ram so you still get hit. Yeah, that was Ninjara's shield problem. You could manipulate his shield to force him to teleport in a direction, because I don't fully remember how it worked, but the part you hit the shield determined the direction he teleported. So because of that, you can literally manipulate Ninjara's shield to force him to get hit. So we were forced to rely on shielding and dashing to get everything done. And it made us realize, as bad as Ninjara's shield is, it actually has some utility. So we were able to improve our ground game. We were able to walk more, focus on dashing more, focus on a lot of... Also, shout out to Symbol. Symbol is the one that was like, Ninjaras need to walk more. And once we started to walk more, bro, it was kind of over. We were just leveling up and mad. But yeah, there was a lot of things that happened. But it led to improvement. And that eventually led to me having one overall issue. Now, this was a mental thing more than anything else, because there's no way it wasn't. I was beating players that were ranked 20. I was doing really well at tournaments. I wasn't necessarily hitting all of the top 8s, but I was getting very close. I was doing very well for a lot of these tournaments. 40 plus people entrance, 30 plus people entering tournaments. I was doing really well. I was always entering. I was getting maybe like 17th, 13th, 9th, sometimes cracking those top 8s. I was doing really well, and I was beating high level players. Very much so. But there was a problem. I would beat these people in bracket, and then I would beat them online in ranked, and I would lose to them. Most of these people, they hit the top rank, which was now rank 20. They hit the top rank, which was once rank 20. Now, I went back to rank at one point. Like, this is rewinding. I kind of skipped this because I completely forgot about it and I'm remembering. But there was a point when ranked max was 15, and there was a point when Scrimps was trying to get the best tournament ever in terms of the best players. So he wanted only rank 15, so I went back to playing ranked, and I ranked up very fast. I didn't reach rank 15 in time, but I did rank up very fast. I think I got to like rank 13 by the time, and it was really hard to gain points. Like, I wasn't even really losing. It was just really hard to gain points to get to 15, because it required so many wins at that point in time. It was just to a point where I would have to be playing the game constantly to get it, because again, I think I stopped at like rank 6, rank 7-ish, and it took forever to rank up. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate in that. I don't think my skill level was even there yet. I feel like I would have struggled around rank 13, rank 14-ish if I tried to push any further, but it is what it is. But anyway, I was at rank 19 for the longest. And I just could not get to rank 20. I was losing the players I would beat in tournaments, and it was just trading back and forth. At this point, a loss hurt. Like, you won like 3 games, and if you lost 1, all those points you gained were gone. This was rank 19. Rank 19 was not playing. All of those points you gained, you had to win. You had to be winning like 3 or 4 matches in a row without losing to actually be gaining points. So it was really, really, really hard to get up there. But even then, I was losing to people I would normally beat in tournaments. And eventually, Malieve decided to hold a scrapyard, which was her tournament series for players that were ranked 19 and below. And at this point in time, I was like one of the highest ranking ranked 19 players. Now, I don't understand how the seeding went, because I'm gonna be real. I believe I was the highest ranked player there in terms of how close I was to rank 20. And the top seed was a ranked 16 guy. So that was a little weird, but at the same time, I didn't really care that much. And it was at this point I meant Orth. I don't remember what the name he goes by. I think it might be Pizus or something like that. I don't remember. But I think he might go by Orth before, or he goes by... I wish I remembered your name properly, Orthus. I believe Orthus is his old name. I cannot for the life of me remember your newer name, so I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't want to butcher it. I don't want to, because I know you didn't want to be called Orth anymore, but I legitimately cannot remember. So I'm so sorry about that by calling you by your old tag. But this is Penzo! I remember! At least I think Penzo's a newer one. Penzo. So I'm hoping it's Penzo. And Orth is the old one. I hope to God I got it right. Anyway, I met him and we practiced together and we had a consensus at the end of our games. I was the better player. I was whooping his ass. And he wasn't bad. I was just better. I was just literally better. So we played a lot of friendlies, and then the day of the tournament, I had to go do shopping with my family. And this is one of the most unfortunate things about some of these tournaments I had to play in ARMS, is that a lot of the times I'd actually get screwed because my family would like, hey, everybody got to go shopping. Yeah, you old man. Yes, you grown adult living in your parents' house. You got to go shopping too. Yes, you. Yes, I had to go shopping with them. So I went shopping with them as, was demanded. And honestly, came back with like 10 minutes to spare before the tournament. No warm-up, no nothing. It was this is, you're gonna say John's, but this is straight up. My hands were cold. I played motion controls, so it wasn't a good look going into this tournament. And my first round, unfortunately for me, or at least it would have been fortunate, but it was Orth, and it was Penzo. I was not ready. I was not ready. I went into that match and I lost. But I was lucky in the fact that I got to warm up. But I went into losers round 1. I think I was overall 4th seed or something like that. So I went into losers round 1. And then I had a losers run. And I beat my first opponent. And I beat my second opponent. And my third opponent was Sophia, if I recall correctly, Alumax. Now, I don't think I had a very good record against Alumax at the end of ARMS, but that just goes to show Alumax was really good. The only problem I had with Alumax is that they were a pompous piece of shit, but they were very good at the game. So, I beat Alumax, and then I had to fight Orth again, and Orth, after game 1, I beat him pretty badly in game 1. So he said, okay, you're warmed up, you're playing like how you were playing before, I'm gonna try some weird old shit. And he did try some weird old shit. It did not work, but it was fun games. And then I had to face what I considered one of the hardest things. Now, y'all remember when Hess said I would not be beating Master Mummies and all that shit? That was the case. I was still very bad against Master Mummy. And one of the reasons why I was bad against Master Mummy is that he had super armor. And I played Ninjara basically with default arms. Now Ninjara's default arms are the Chakram, the Buff, and the Tri-Blast. The Chakram is a stun arm, and stun effects are essentially ignored by super armor. His buff is just a regular arm that gets bigger, that's no real effect, when it's charged, it just gets bigger. It has very good tracking on it, so it is a very good arm. It got nerfed after people found out how overpowering that shit was, but against people with armor, the buff also just does half damage when charged and does not knock down. So Chakram does half damage, does not get a knockdown. Buff does half damage, does not get a knockdown. What about the Tri-Blast? I hated the Tri-Blast, but the Tri-Blast also did half damage. It was an explosion arm, and explosions were also ignored by super armor. I had nothing on the default Ninjara that actually beats super armor. Luckily, I had unlocked the Sparky, which is an electric glove. Now, the Sparky electrical gloves don't do super damage to armor. Normally an arm would do 100 damage, or like 110 charge or something like that. It depends on, I think it was 90 damage for the base, 100 damage when charged, and if you get the plus version, it's 100 damage base, 110 while charged. Something like that. depending on the arm. Other arms did more damage. Like a roaster would do like 150 damage in a punch, which was 130 damage in a punch. That was a lot of damn damage. Like that's almost as much as some people's grabs. Like the roasters were stupidly strong arms. But anyway, but what it would do is that it would make the opponent vulnerable for the next hit. So your next hit would do full damage, or you could actually land a grab. So you would punch them with the electric arm, they'd get disabled for a couple seconds, you grab them, bam. So you have bam, that's 50 damage, grab, that's 150 damage because Ninjaro's grab does 150. So that's a total of 200 damage. You have 1000 health, something like that. So you rinse and repeat until you win. And that was Master Mummy. That was like heavy opponents. With regular opponents, my punch is doing 100 damage, my grab does 150. So there you go, 100 damage into the grab, boom, 250. Hit that 4 times, you're done. That was literally my strategy. I became really good with the Sparky. But this is Master Mummy. I don't know how it happened. This turn was one of my bracket demons. I don't think I'd ever beaten Saturn before. And was on something else this tournament because I beat Saturn. Like this loser's run made it all the way to grand finals, and I will tell you, I went, I drank water, I used the bathroom, I did what I could. It didn't matter. When I went up against Comet, who was the rank 16 #1 seed, I was burnt. I was out of it. Because I can hear almost every other time I played Comet after this, I beat his ass. But this one, I was gassed. If I did, I feel like I actually would have won that tournament if I did not come back cold, because then I would have fought Comet in round 2 if I was warm and everything, and I definitely would have been able to beat Comet in round 2, and I would have been the one sitting in grands. But it is what it is, because something really good did come out of that tournament. Midway through, Malieve had to leave, and Maroon Walrus came over. Now, I will say this straight up, I do not speak or talk to, or even particularly like Maroon Walrus at this point in time. Because there were some things that went down later on with MWE. Which was what the good thing that came out of it. Milky Way Esports. He took a bunch of us from this tournament and made an esports team. It was Comet, myself, and Penzo for sure that were on the team. And then eventually we'd get very much heavy hitters like Twin 5-0. So it was a very, very strong arms team. And quite frankly, I'm going to say, as other teams rose and fell, MWE became the strongest arms team out there. We had the strongest overall team. So I don't want to hear anyone. So whilst there were certain people like shitting on us and all that shit, I'm just going to say it straight up. 2018, MWE became the best arms esports team. We were the strongest, we had the most versatile players, and we were getting dubs. I mean, Twin was getting dubs, but we were getting dubs. And we were top 8 in everything. In fact, let's go into 2018 because after that tournament, I leveled the hell up. I hit rank 20, and I was going in tournament after tournament after tournament, and I was not missing top 8s. For the entirety of 2018, outside of MLM, which had a very different structure, I wasn't missing top 8s. I was actually just improving so fast, it wasn't funny. My track record in arms, I actually won a couple tournaments in 2018. I just started to actually do really, really well. I made it to finals in a couple tournaments. People didn't expect me in finals. I literally fought Twin 5-0 in finals multiple times, which is something that is absolutely insane when you really think about it. And it was just crazy. My leveling up in that year was good. All kind of culminated in a way when people actually started to give me a little bit of respect. When I saw Scrimps literally jump up, I was like, because there was an MLM at the same time when some major was going to be happening soon, so some top players were not available. So I entered that MLM, and that was the hardest. Let me tell you, that MLM, the way it works, if you've ever seen like a Smash Summit or something like that, but it's similar to that, but it's a round robin into a single elimination tournament. So the round robin is a pools of 4 different players, all random. He never seeded the tournament. It was all random. And my pool was the absolute most bullshitty pool I have ever seen in my goddamn life. We had Mr. Pied Piper, and unfortunately for you, he was new in the game. He ended up being really good Ninjara later on, but He was new to the game at this point, and he was literally stuck in there with 3 beasts. Myself, my teammate, Dark Remix of NWE. Again, NWE was killing it. I'm not even gonna kill. And the Wonder Boy himself, the person who was the exception to the rule. Let me tell you, again, if you had 100 plus hours, you were not losing to people with less than 100 hours. That was literally consensus. That was across the board. Your dedication, you leveled up, you learned something, you saw something fundamentally different about the game. But this dude, Para showed up on the scene with like 30 hours into the game. He was beating people with 100 plus hours. This dude was insane. This dude was so goddamn good. I don't know how he was this good. This dude was just too goddamn good at the game. So, it was Para, Dart, myself, and Pied Piper. Now, Pied Piper went 0-3. He got destroyed. I don't even think he took a round. He was in a battle with the beast. I'm so sorry for him. But we had a problem in here. We had a problem. We straight up had a problem. So what was the problem? I beat Para. Para beat Dart. Dart beat me. Yeah. Every single one of us won 2 games and lost 1. Every single one of us won 2 games and lost 1. It was 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 0-3. We had a 3-way tie. And then you had to look at the tiebreaker. We beat each other. So it was like, oh shit, who's gonna actually be put through into the actual single bracket? What's going on? What's gonna go down? And luckily for me, it was myself and Para that made it through. I believe Para made it through number 1 because Para had a better record, and I had a slightly better record against Dart. So me and Dart, I believe, went to game 3. I don't fully remember. I think me and Dart went to game 3, and every other game was like 2-0s or stuff like that. So I luckily was able to get through due to having a slightly better record. And then that single tournament happened, and something crazy was happening again. Oh my god, how did you make it to a single game? People were, that. And then Scrims kind of shut them up. And then we had what would be considered one of the most intense games of ARMS that was ever played. In winner's semis, it was myself versus Para. Yeah, we had a rematch. I beat him in pools, and then we were doing that rematch for the actual end result, the actual final thing. And it was, let me just put it like this, it was some of the most beautiful ARMS that had ever been played. We were boxing, and it went all the way to game 3, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I should have won game 3. I had game 3 won. I had game 3 won. I did not pull the trigger. My playstyle was very counter rush focused. Rush is the unleashing all of your ARMS abilities that you do. If you've seen Springman Assist Trophy, the move where he punches you a lot, that's a rush. So I waited for people to use their rush, and then I would use Ninjara speed to avoid it, and then do a rush of my own to hit them from the side and get massive damage, both wasting their rush and getting massive damage on my rush. And it did not work, because I hesitated and he got me with his rush, and I lost for that. But he was bouncing on the trampoline in Mausoleum, and if I rushed him there, he was dead. He would have lost. I literally had it won. So, sucked there in that moment, but the thing that really made that set cemented for me, and what kind of, in that sense, that set kind of made me like cemented as like, oh yeah, he's a real top player and all that stuff, in the grain of like, he's someone top players have to be wary of. Scrimps gave me like a clapping, a standing ovation, if you want to call it, a floating ovation, if you literally like to stream as a floating head. But everyone, chat was clapping, everyone was so like, oh my god, that was some of the best ARMS I've ever seen. It was actually like crazy. Getting some respect in this community, because again, when you go from 0-2 to the level where you at, where I ended up being, there was a lot of disrespect that flew around. An absolute truck ton of disrespect that flew around. So honestly, it made me very, very happy with that. And that kind of continued. Honestly, that continued as I kept going to, as I kept playing in 2018, I started to get more successful. And then eventually, New York got a local. Waypoint, they do Smash tournaments and such now, but we had a local there, and it was a lot of people came over since one of the offline events, and I top 8'd it, but I didn't do extremely well. I lost before I didn't place my seed. I didn't do super hot, but I was playing really well that day too. Just other people were improving, and they finally got their win. Alo finally got their win on me, so yeah. But I continued playing through, and at that point, I don't know if I should go into this yet, but this goes into why I kind of started to kind of taper off arms. But I went to my local. Eventually, I would win. We went to Summer Jam, which was my only major I went to. I wouldn't even call it a major because it was not that much of not many people got to go. A lot of people got to cancel at the last second, but we played arms at Summer Jam. We did really well. I think I got top 8 there. I got 7th, and I was seeded 4th, and I messed up. Let me tell you why I messed up. So before I played in the tournament, I was doing ranked, and I ran into Kumo, who ended up also going to Summer Jam. And I got my ass beat. Kumo was really good. And I was like, I don't want to play this guy. This guy, I don't know if I can beat him. So I played him in bracket, and I tried my hardest, and he was just really good. I could not beat him. I then did friendlies with N-Man. And here was the problem. Here was the problem with me doing friendlies with N-Man. He ended up losing his other set and became my top 8 opponent. And I didn't use my main set, I used my joke set, if you want to call it that, but my secret weapon, which was, I'm gonna just double buff because I don't plan on whipping out double buffs at this tournament because they were nerfed. They're still really good, but they were nerfed. So I wasn't planning on whipping them out. And Ant-Man adapted to my main set, so I ended up whipping out the double buffs versus him, and I won game 2 with it. But then he ended up closing it out because he got used to double buff. No. In the friendlies, he never once took a game from the double buffs. He was getting smoked by the double buffs. So the problem was I literally gave him that experience right before we ended up having to play because I didn't expect that we'd have to play. So it was very much, I gave him the experience right before, so I lost. I don't know, this was on me. I should not have been playing friendlies with my next opponent. Even if I didn't know he was my next opponent. I should have played friendlies with like Slosh, because Slosh got second. Slosh was another MWE teammate. Slosh was really good. This was also the event that caused the end of NWE, because we were all celebrating, we were all happy. Me, Slosh, Hammer, we were all just enjoying the fact that, yo, we got to meet in person. It was so much fun. And then, Walrus decided, hey, y'all, you know what I want to do? I want to take people's winnings from brackets to try to do so. And I was like, now, I have had a problem with some esports teams. I'm going to be honest with you. If you're a grassroots esports team, like one of those smaller ones, especially if your tournament stuff is mostly online like ARMS was, and you could definitely get some winnings out of it, here's what I'm going to tell you straight up. Host your own onlines and build up your stuff. You can get stuff through subbing and stuff to actually support your team and host training sessions and a bunch of other stuff. There's so many ways you can actually get funding outside of just trying to take the money from your top players, from your players to, you know. So that was one of the issues I had with MWE, and it caused a mass exodus of it. And there was a bunch of things that happened. Then another player from MWE, Hypertext, also another, again, when I said MWE was one of the strongest teams, I was not kidding. We had, Hypertext was really good, min player, like really good. I went back and forth with Hypertext a lot. I never liked fighting Hypertext. He was too aggressive. I could not keep up with that min sometimes, I swear to God. I hated min. Anyway, Hypertext showed me some screenshots of one of the time we did a crew battle where Maroon was saying, should I kick Uran off the team? Sometimes he's so defeated. I was like, Uran plays seriously every time. He may talk sometimes like that, but he's one of the best players out there. And you've seen he's pulled off some crazy upset wins. What are you talking about? So he was like, if you ever thought about regretting your decision of quitting, don't regret it. And they were saying a lot of wild shit behind your back. I'm like, oh, well, screw you then. Doing a secret vote to get me off the team and shit, when I literally was giving you some of your best results. Luna Gabs was an MWE member. Again, we had a lot of really, when I said we had the best team, I was not kidding. We were stacked. We were stacked. But anyway, that led to the collapse of that. And then I went to my local. I won my next local, I believe. I did win the next one after Summer Jam. Yeah, I think I won the one after Summer Jam. Or I got second. But I got my run back with Kumo there, and I beat him. And I believe that might have been the last one. I think I won the 2 before Summer Jam. And then I won 2 of them for sure. Back to back. And then the one, no. I won the 1 before Summer Jam, got top 8 at Summer Jam, won the 1 after Summer Jam, and then I didn't win anymore after that. I didn't win the last one. I think Slosh won the last one. I got second there. And I believe Kumo came to the one where I ended up winning the second time. Because I think Kumo might have double eliminated Slosh. I don't remember fully. But I did beat Kumo. I beat Kumo with a kind of misclip, by the way. I accidentally went double slap Amander because my controller had a drift. My Joy-Con had a drift, so yeah. So I didn't get my proper layout, but it worked out. Anyway, this leads me to the end of ARMS, because I'm gonna tell you real quick. When it came to that local, when it shut down, I already knew I wasn't playing ARMS after that. Smash was already announced, and the community, essentially, here is the real reasons why I quit ARMS. The community was going down the dumps very, very fast. ARMS had portrayed itself as a very wholesome community up to this point. Very, very wholesome community up to this point. And the holes were poking in that wholesomeness. I'm about to say straight up. There were a lot of things that started to come out. A lot of people's attitudes, a lot of people's pompousness, and we were actually getting helped by 12GG Sedgehog and a bunch of other people were helping us out. And Stylo-Ren and Askew went on Twitter. I'm not even going to let Askew slide on this one. I'm going to call his bitch ass out. They went on Twitter and they started to blast Sedge for something that was happening with a major. And 2GG saw this and they were like, what are y'all doing? We're literally the only tournament series that puts y'all on our majors, and y'all are out here talking shit when y'all are a liability. Y'all don't even make enough money for their stuff to host y'all. We're doing our best to help y'all. And something happened and they thought, oh, they're attacking ARMS or some shit like that. And they weren't. And they lashed out, these 2 people, and then we basically got canceled from the 2GG stuff. So, congratulations, Askew and Stylo-Ren. Y'all did it. Y'all played yourselves. And the entire community. But that was like one of the actual blow-ups of everything. But there were a lot of other things where attitude problems. Other people had a lot of ego. A lot of ego. Askew had an ego. There was so many egotistical stuff. And speaking of Askew, I want to bring this story up because I just need to point out, when I say disrespect, Askew disrespected and shit on my team so often. But here's the thing. There was one point in time when Askew just popped up and said, yo, him and Simongo, hey, Uran, let's get a best of 5. Let's beat up you. Yeah, we'll best of 5 and beat you. And I was like, you know what? I just wanted some games. So I already knew what was up and I didn't really care at that point. I was like, you know what? I just want some games. Let's play. And it was 3-1 in my favor. And this is the part where I was like, I didn't, you know what, I felt good. I didn't say shit out loud, I didn't type anything, yeah, that felt good. That felt good. Y'all talked all this shit, and look at y'all now. Look at you now, you took an L. And there was something I had a clear advantage over him, and it was, remember my strategy of counter rushing? I won every rush counter that was happening, and that was how I was beating his ass every single time. It was beautiful, I loved it. But here's where I will give Askew some respect. Because after he got his ass beat by me, he said, Uran, let's play some friendlies. I want to try to figure out what was happening. And he did figure it out relatively quickly. We didn't play that many friendlies after, and he started to win. He was like, oh, okay, I understood the timing of stuff now. And he got the timing out. He figured out my timing and figured out why our rushes were going in my favor, even though we both had medium-sized arms. And after that point, I don't know if I actually beat Askew again, but I'll give it to him, he was a grinder. He was an actual grinder, but pompous as shit, and I was very happy to put him in his place, cause, I'm sorry, I need y'all to get a little bit of humble pie sometimes. But before this shit went down, when a lot of stuff was happening in the community, I just want to point out, Askew did say something to me that pissed me off, because I like to joke around, I like to have fun. I don't like to be serious all the time. One of the things I hated doing was leading shit. I hated being a leader sometimes because a lot of the times it came down to, oh, I have to be a leader because other people don't know what the hell they're doing. So one of those situations was popping up, and I wasn't trying to be a leader. I was just trying to give advice. And Askew was like, oh, look at Uran trying to be mature. And I'm like, oh, okay. Fall into your hole by yourselves. And that eventual hole was that whole explosion with the 2G thing that got the community kind of blacklisted. So, yeah, I warned. You didn't listen to me. And I don't feel sorry for you. But anyway, Ren probably did it by himself anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered if Askew, I mean, the two of them, a top player like Askew actually doing it has more impact than a Ren. But the community absolutely lambasted the shit out of Ren, and Askew kind of got away with it, so you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna call you out here, Askew. I'm gonna call you out right there. And that's about it. That's the most of the calls. The community started to get very toxic. Askew and a bunch of other parts of it, but there were a lot more toxicity happening in there, and it was really disgusting. It was really, really disgusting. And you want to know one of the things you could tell that the toxicity was getting to people? A lot of players started with, like, again, me, Reese, and the other Ninja, the European Ninja, Rifa, we did a Ninja Trio thing for a Trios tournament, and we were doing really well. And then we had to run into Alomax, and again, Alomax did beat us and all that stuff. But she was being so solely with it that people had to tell her to cut it out and all that shit. But the point is, there were a lot of problematic individuals, and they were becoming more and more prominent in the scene, and they were getting good at the game. So you saw a lot of the more light-hearted, the people who were fun, slowly start to quit. One by one, players quit. One by one, the community started to dwindle. One by one, people just started to not show up. And eventually, Reese the Ninja also stopped playing, and I was like, what? No! Why? Reese, no! I was very sad. Reese stopped playing is literally part of why I could actually claim being the best Ninjara in NA. Because there was a point in time when I was pretty much the only Ninjara doing anything. So, yeah, it really, really kind of sucked. It honestly did kind of suck. And that just eventually led to me leaving. But the overall reasons why I left ARMS, the toxic community was one of it. I didn't want to deal with it. I was also on Riptide with Radio and a bunch of other, and I did not like some of the people in Riptide. I'm not gonna lie, personally I did not like them. I had a problem with Steelhead. I think Steelhead was a cancerous person to the community. I did not like him. But he was more level-headed than some of the other people that were also in Riptide. So I'll give him his props. As much as I don't think he was a very good person, he at least understood and knew when to tone it down. But a lot of the other things I just saw happening, I just did not like that part of it. And I also did achieve my goals when it came to ARMS. I won my local. I top 8'd a major, even if it wasn't that much of a well. Even if I didn't play that well at the major, I still top 8'd a major. I became the best Ninjara in North America. I went on an amazing run for the entirety of 2018 where I wasn't missing top 8s. I was playing like a madman. I literally reached to the point where I wanted to reach. In terms of skill, I was able to threaten top players. Who was that? I was that top player guard. Like, if you could beat me, there was a very good chance you were a top player. If you'd go on to be a top player, you'd go on to be somebody really good at the game. If you couldn't beat me, who was your roadblock? Who was literally just, hey, I'm that player in between being a top player and in between a high level player. I was that guy. I was that roadblock. I was like I'm not gonna say the buzz or whatever. I was that guy. And that's kind of where I wanted to be. I never wanted to be the best at ARMS. I never wanted to be the best in any competitive game. So for me, I achieved my goals. And the only reason I kept playing was the love of the game. And with the locals done, because at some point, I'll tell you, like, at that final local, I was like, the only reason I'm even going to these locals at this point, because the only time I went to tournaments was my locals at this point, was because I liked the game, and this was basically a free payday, because there was nowhere I was getting less than second at my local. Even when I wasn't practicing, I was not getting less than second at my local. The only people that could beat me at the local were Slosher Wheeler whenever he showed up, and Savage, and then Sam started to get really good. I was like, oh, I gotta be very careful with him, because he might actually start to beat me. He didn't beat me, and I'm very happy with that. He did eventually beat me at one point, I believe, in an online tournament, but I did get my run back and I did win, but he got really good, like, really scary. He upset Slosh. Like, I would have won that final one if he upset Slosh one more time. Because me and Slosh went, he set the bracket on me, it went like game 5 both sets, but Slosh just has an advantage in me where if he's using his main set of arms, I have to counteract it in a very specific way. And because I have to jump around counterpicking, it just ended up becoming, okay, standard sets, okay, boxing sets, okay, all kind of breakdown sets, long distance set. I tried so many, literally it was just jumping back and forth between my multiple different playstyles and arms. And eventually it ended with double nunchucks, double funchucks versus double Sparky. Sparky was too slow. I'm sorry, Sparky. I love you. You are one of my favorite arms, but I just couldn't clutch it out. And that was pretty much it. I know I tried double roasters and double toasters. Those arms did not fit well with me, so yeah. But yeah, real reason I quit ARM. The community got too toxic and I didn't enjoy being around it anymore. So I muted ARM Central. I still have ARM Central on mute, and I just participated solely with the casual ARMS community. And I literally did achieve all of my competitive goals, and Ultimate came out. So yeah, that's literally it. So if you enjoyed this Uran Rants, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, share it, and share it with the ARMS community. Let them know why I quit, and let them know my full feelings on them. I respect the people who are still running it. I will never return unless a new game comes out, because I don't have that drive and I don't feel like getting beaten by the new kids, because I've already got my ass beat by the new kids in some of these tournaments. I'm like, I'm not going back. Y'all new, nah, I'm good. Anyway, so yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video. I believe I will be doing the Super Smash Bros. KDL series, so I'm apologizing. I know I said in the tier list video that the Pokemon videos would be coming next. I'm sorry, I got sick, so I ended up falling behind on a lot of stuff, so I'm going to try to do smaller videos, and the KDL videos should be shorter, so I'm going to be doing like 8 weeks or 7 weeks of those videos, and then after that we'll have a straight line of just Pokemon videos and other fun stuff like GTA videos and a bunch of other stuff, so be on the lookout for that. There's gonna be a lot of videos that come out in the very, very near future that are just pure content based, taken straight from Twitch, edited down, some added commentary and a bunch of other stuff, so do be on the lookout for that. And yeah, I want to say once more, thank you so very much for watching. Be sure to like the video, share the video, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Alright, y'all. Peace.